Okay, this is going to be the solution to problem 318. Okay, it asks for several things. It wants the moment of each force about point O. Okay, it wants the sum of those three moments and the sense of it. Then it wants us to find the resultant of F1 through F3 and calculate the moment. Then we're going to compare that to the result we got in part B. So let's start with calculate the moment. Okay. If we look at force 1 is directly in the same line as point O. So if force 1 by itself is acting on point O, ask yourself, does it cause any rotation? No, it causes translation. Force 1 is going to tend to pull O in this direction, okay, along in the x direction. So there is no moment due to force 1. Alright, so then let's look at M2. M2 is equal to force 2 times the distance to point O. And M2 is then 50 pounds times 6 feet. And M2 is equal to 300 pound-feet. Okay? Now, that need to be sure to check whether that's a positive or negative. If I have a thumbtack in O and I am pulling up at F2, things are going to tend to go in a counterclockwise fashion, and that's a positive moment, so we leave the sign like it is on M2. M3. Now, M3 is a little trickier. Let's look at it. F3 is broken down into two components. So if I trace them back and turn it into Fy and Fx for this one, what do you notice about F3x? F3x does not tend to cause any moment or any rotation. It is going to tend to push point O to translate it back in that direction. Okay, so the only moment due to force 3 is due to the y component. Okay, so when we go to consider this one, we only consider the y component. Alright, so we take it and say M3 is equal to F3 in the y direction times D3, and that means that M3 is equal to F 75 pounds times sine of 15 degrees times the distance again is 6 feet. So that means that M3 is going to be equal to, punch that in my calculator, I get 116.5 pound-feet. Okay, now is that going to tend to be positive or negative? If I had this pinned and I was pulling here, that's going to tend to be counterclockwise, and it's also positive. Alright, so now if we do the sum of the moments at O, alright, it's equal to 0 plus 300 plus 116.5 which is equal to 416.5 pound-feet. That's in a positive direction, so that is going to tend to be a counterclockwise moment. Oops, that one should be a W. Alright? Good.